Oh, hello. Welcome to more of this nonsense. I don't mean to yell in your ear. Sorry, pal. It is April 9th. We're continuing to celebrate births and beginnings of everything important since the dawn of time. The point is, in a near satanic type of way, defining the world as we see fit, right? What is April 9th otherwise? I don't know. And even if it was some random day as defined by other people, why would we base our lives around that? No, we're going to base our lives around what we deem to be important. Right? That makes sense. Excuse me, I'm talking. Down in front. Down in front. So, what's my point? 1830, on this day, Edward Muybridge was born. One of the fathers, if not the fathers, of moving picture history. One of the most important moments of my life was going on a school field trip, high school, 14 years old, going to the Museum of the Moving Image in Long Island City, Queens, where we got to see, it's a phenomenal museum. I don't know that it's open right now with COVID stuff as it is, but we got to see, as a 14-year-old, I got to see a film projection of Charlie Chaplin's The Immigrant with live musical accompaniment. Anytime you say live musical accompaniment, you have to, do those piano fingers. But also, the museum is phenomenal beyond that. There's a whole thing on Edward Muybridge that talks about, his whole bet with his friends on, do horses ever have their hooves on the ground, or there are moments where they maybe don't as they're running, and their whole thing of setting up cameras to try to document it, and that's what resulted in what eventually became the filmmaking process of sequential quick shots. Yeah. There's a lot more. That museum is phenomenal. And when I went there was this, I wouldn't say squatter kid, because I feel like this is something that's been bugging me recently that I'm not really going to get into. But there was this, from a modern standpoint, but at the time there was this pseudo squatter looking kid there, who was probably also on a school field trip, who was telling me that because we were punks being oh, hello, punk kid here. He was like, I'm the bartender at ABC No Rio, and I hadn't been to ABC No Rio yet. And when I went to ABC, I don't know, a couple months later for the first time, I was like, there is no bar here. This guy was just talking crap to me. Why I oughta. But most importantly, the museum is phenomenal. They have the original props from The Exorcist to make Linda Blair's head spin around, miniatures from Blade Runner, reproductions of the Elsa Lanchester Bride of Frankenstein wig, because the originals are lost, which otherwise I'm sure would be there. It's a absolutely wonderful museum that, for those that do travel to New York and miss out on this museum, boy, are you missing out. I love it. It changed my life. And Edward Muybridge is maybe not the most eye-catching aspect of the museum, but he's certainly a important part of it, because without him, you just wouldn't have it. No, not at all. What else? 1932, Carl Perkins was born. I love Carl Perkins. I read his biography, Go Cat Go, which for those of you that haven't read, I would definitely suggest to you. I feel like I'm not talking, but the dog is, and I'm okay with that. I'll just go ahead. You keep going. I'm just gonna have a little sip. No, this is not for you. Carl Perkins, the man. If only, right? There's so many different if onlys. So that Carl Perkins Go Cat Go book, not to be confused with the other Go Cat Go book, which is a compilation of various slightly more obscure rockabilly recording artists' stories. biographies. Go Cat Go, the Carl Perkins story. Don't recall who co-wrote it with him or wrote it for him. I have the book right up just over yonder, but as you can see, I'm a little busy here. Anyway, the book is phenomenal. It's filled with all sorts of really great stuff. I mean, most, if not all, of those Sun Records guys led such crazy, sad, haunted lives, and Carl Perkins is certainly one of them. So, like, to give you the Cliff Notes version, coulda, shoulda, woulda been as big as Elvis, but never was gonna be. Maybe because he wasn't as handsome. Maybe because he didn't have as many he didn't have as much of the shtick as he had. Of which arguably Elvis borrowed that slash stole it from Howlin' Wolf. His whole stage presence is arguably Howlin' Wolf's early live stage presence. But separately from that, Carl Perkins wrote all of his own songs. Elvis did not. Carl Perkins was on his way to, I want to say, the Ed Sullivan Show to perform Blue Suede Shoes for the first time on national television, of which otherwise, you just didn't get that kind of national acclaim or presence. But as they were on their way, they got into a car wreck. Their car, I think, flipped over or went into a ditch. And everybody in the car, which was his whole band / his band were his family members, I should say, all wound up in the hospital. And he wound up in a hospital bed watching on television as Elvis performed Blue Suede Shoes on the Ed Sullivan Show. His song. A little frustrating, right? Yeah. What else? One of the stories I loved in this book that I'd never heard anywhere else was I want to say this is the mid to late 60s, so he's probably doing country stuff. So, serves him right? No, that's not true. But he gets up on stage and he's on stage performing and he goes up to take a bow and gets his hand caught in a giant old time utility fan and gets multiple fingers cut off live on stage in front of people as a guitar player. That's quite a stage show, right? I want to say that predates Alice Cooper or anything else of that nature. Yeah. And he had to relearn to play guitar with less fingers, a la Django Reinhardt or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. There's a lot more. I don't know that I want to tell you the whole thing. Just read the book. But there's this whole thing also where his band members, aka family members, wind up killing themselves at different points in tragic, terrible ways. And it's I won't say it's a wonderful story, but it's a powerful story. How about that? I worded that better on take 2. Yeah. What else? On this day in 1953, the film Invaders from Mars premiered. Love this movie. One of the best of its kind. Plus, it's all from the perspective of children, which is where we all should be and never have evolved from. Just stay as children. We did a Phantom Group Theater screening of Invaders from Mars at Coney Island for Phantom Group Theater. And I think this was one of those that we did on film that we weren't really doing properly, and it just fell apart and everything, all the film went up on the floor. And it's kind of a charm. There's a real charm to film production, but not when we do it. No. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for today. April 9th, all day. Lots of exciting things for you to appreciate. Film history, Carl Perkins in all of his glory, and Invaders from Mars. From me to you and us. And us. Till tomorrow. Goodbye.